The episode begins with Einar chopping a tree and feeling proud, but suddenly his mother scolds him, asking why he's attacking the tree like that. His sister Lotta jokes if he wants to become a lumberjack. Einar explains he's training to fight, but his mother reminds him he's strong but useless in battle. They go for lunch and Einar says he wants to protect their land, rebuilt after a raid. Lotta and their mom tease him about other things, frustrating him. Later, as kids play happily in the village, a sudden Viking raid destroys everything. Einar's mother tells him and Lotta to run once they reach the forest. As they flee, an arrow hits their mother, and Einar is devastated. She urges them to escape, sacrificing herself. Lotta is then captured and killed by the Vikings while trying to resist. Einar is taken as a slave and transported with others. On board, he sees a sick woman thrown into the sea, shocking him. He questions the cruelty but is beaten. They're told to stay healthy for buyers. At the market, Einar tries to escape, but is caught and punished. A slaver explains harshly that they are far from home and must accept reality. Later, a man named Leif arrives searching for a blonde boy named Thorfinn, not recognizing Einar. Eventually, a farmer buys Einar and takes him to vast fields, triggering memories of his home. Einar reflects on losing everything and wonders about his future, resigning to being an obedient slave just to survive. The episode begins with Ketil telling Einar and Thorfinn that from now on they'll work together and should consider themselves friends. Einar greets Thorfinn, who replies softly. Ketil shows them a forest and tells Einar it's not just trees, it's the future wheat field. He explains the land is his, but he's entrusting it to them to clear, cultivate, and harvest, and once they've earned enough, they can buy their freedom. Einar is shocked but motivated, saying he'll work hard. Ketil introduces Potter, who once earned his own freedom, and tells them to rest for the day and observe how Thorfinn works. As they walk, Einar tries talking to Thorfinn, who stays quiet. Later, Einar sees the large forest and realizes there's much work ahead. While Thorfinn works silently, Einar tries helping but struggles with the axe. He says he wants to finish, quickly to be free. They take a break, and Einar learns that retainer slaves are different. They get paid. Soon, retainers arrive with lunch, but Einar receives a half-eaten piece of bread. When he questions it, they mock him, and Thorfinn politely thanks them, diffusing the tension. Einar is angry but continues working. He questions the social hierarchy, but Thorfinn remains silent. Later, Einar almost complains to Ketil, but is distracted by a mysterious girl. The next day, while harvesting, Einar notices Ketil working alongside them. Ketil corrects his son Olmar for improper cutting, and Olmar storms off, embarrassed after failing to draw his sword. That night, Einar recalls how war destroyed his village, and Thorfinn silently remembers his own trauma. The episode begins with Olmar sitting on a bench, drunk and rambling about how no one understands him or what they don't understand. Fox tries to comfort him, saying 17 is an awkward age. Olmar accuses Fox and Badger of laughing at him behind his back and demands they prove their worth as warriors. Fox calmly says they're just guards hired by his father and tries to lighten the mood, but Olmar suddenly gets angry, feeling worthless. Fox tells him that becoming a real man is simple. He just needs to kill someone. Meanwhile, Einar wakes up early, reflecting on the workload and hoping to clear the forest before the next planting season. But he's distracted by Thorfinn screaming from a nightmare. Einar wakes him, and Thorfinn, disoriented, says he doesn't even remember what the dream was. Outside, Einar meets Arnheid, a kind woman who greets him. They talk briefly before being called by Fox to follow him. Suspicious, Einar and Thorfinn go with him and reach a field where Fox tells Olmar to kill Thorfinn as a rite of manhood. Einar is confused and scared, but Thorfinn remains calm. Despite repeated slashes from Fox, Thorfinn doesn't flinch or resist, impressing everyone but horrifying Einar. Suddenly, Snake arrives, angry at the scene, and demands an explanation. He punches Fox and tells him to explain what's going on. The episode ends with Thorfinn revealing he no longer fears death, as nothing good has ever happened in his life, and Snake arriving just in time to stop things from escalating further. The episode begins with Snake eating and scolding the guards for forcing Thorfinn into a fight, calling it pointless, and warning them not to mess with the slaves again. He introduces himself to Thorfinn and suddenly tests him with a quick movement. Thorfinn instinctively counters with an attack that shocks everyone, revealing his warrior instincts. Snake calmly says Thorfinn's body still wants to live and walks away, warning the others not to repeat their mistake. Later, Patter treats Thorfinn's ear injury and assures him it's not serious. Einar is angry about the abuse they suffered, but Patter tells him to be grateful to Arnheid, who ran to inform him about it. Einar begins to respect Arnheid more. Thorfinn remains distant, and Einar follows him to the forest where they continue cutting trees. Einar asks if Thorfinn has been in war and if he's killed people. Thorfinn admits to killing many, starting from a young age. That night, as Thorfinn sleeps, Einar remembers everything Thorfinn said and suddenly tries to choke him in anger. Meanwhile, Thorfinn dreams of being haunted by the people he killed, including a woman he once knew. He wakes up screaming, and Einar, shocked, sits nearby. Thorfinn confesses his guilt and believes he deserves nothing good. Einar confronts him, saying they're alive for a reason and that even in suffering, life matters. Thorfinn, surprised, thanks Einar, who brushes it off awkwardly. The episode ends with the moon shining on them as Canute appears in a distant scene, marking a shift in the story's focus. The episode begins with a large group of soldiers marching, led by King Canute, who reflects on his past and the day Askeladd beheaded King Swine to save him. The narrator explains how after King Swine's death in 1014, power struggles erupted between Canute and Ethelred II, both claiming the throne of England. As England suffered continuous war, Canute takes harsh actions in Mercia, executing disobedient soldiers who defy his orders by looting and capturing girls. He declares such men are not his soldiers. Later, Canute meets Edric, who tries to bribe him with silver to avoid conflict. Canute dramatically rejects the bribe, standing atop the silver pile and calling Edric out for attempting to buy peace. Tensions rise as Canute makes it clear that only one king can rule England and implies Edric must betray Ethelred. When Edric refuses, Canute signals a series of fires across the land, showing the scale of his military power and spreading fear. Terrified, Edric falls to his knees. Canute gives him a final ultimatum: bring Ethelred's head to buy peace. The narrator explains that King Ethelred and later his son Edmund died mysteriously within a year, clearing the way for Canute to claim the English throne. The episode ends with Canute finally being crowned King of England in 1018, his ambition fulfilled, as Thorkel scoffs at the idea of Canute's name ruining his beer. The final scene shows Canute walking to his throne, completing his transformation into a powerful monarch.